Hello, guys. Welcome to another amazing session on literary movements. This is going really well because I just love these questions. They are awesome, I think. It will really help you remember. Today, also, I have a set of wonderful questions. I hope you like them. Guys, it is Literary Movements Day 3. And we will have theoretical movements also like this. ठीक है? Are you ready? Can you hear me? You can hear me, right? Wow. First, we start with realism. Realism was a late 19th century movement, 1865 to 1914-15. Realists had an interest in everyday life and poverty. They talked about poverty, they talked about working classes, they talked about simplicity of life. The realists were reacting against industrial revolution. They were showing why society is like this, what is the motivation for human action. Realism in literature and art is based on a simplified style and image based on reality. It is lifelike. Henna? Realism, where did it start? Realism started in France. Gustave Flaubert, William Dean Howells, Stendhal. Stendhal's real name is, shall I type here? Marie Henry Bale. That was the real name of Stendhal. Honore de Balzac, Leo Tolstoy, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Frank Norris. These are all major realists. We have so many more. Jack London, George Eliot, Charles Dickens, then William Makepeace Thackeray. You know all of them, don't you? So are you ready to answer some questions based on realism, guys? Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. I'm so glad that we are getting to do this amazing thing together. So much discussion and questions also. What is realism about? Realism is about showing life as it is. What is the motivation for human action? Why human beings are acting like this? What is the consequences of living in this society? Realism mostly talked about the fight between the individual and society. Yes, guys? Thomas Hardy, yes. Thomas Hardy, thanks for reminding me. Astika. Let me ask you questions. Based on the questions, I will explain more, okay? I will tell you the story also. In Madame Bovary, there is a symbol of a blind beggar who appears twice in the novel singing. A blind beggar appears twice in the novel singing. Les Miserables is actually romanticism, Niladri. It is not realism. It is French romanticism. I will talk to you when I come to naturalism, Badri. Please wait. In Madame Bovary, there is a symbol of a blind beggar who appears twice singing. This song mirrors a chief theme in the novel. What is the theme? Bolo. Is it the lure of wealth and luxury? Is it the change from innocence to moral deprivation? Is it the diseased humanity because he is blind and diseased? Or is it divine intervention in human affairs? Which of these is the theme of the blind beggar singing? Let me now tell you the story, then you will understand. Madame Bovary was an innocent girl, a very good woman, like Tess of the D'Urbervilles. She went to a convent school. She read chivalric romances. She wanted to live a high-class life. She was a farmer's daughter, but she wanted to live an upper-class life. She married Charles Bovary because he is a doctor. He thought he will be able to give her a good life. But he turns out to be a very mediocre man. And at the beginning, she is very modest. But slowly, Monsieur Leroux, the money lender, starts giving her goods, luxury items, expensive goods on rent, without taking money he gives her. Slowly she falls into debt. She becomes frustrated with her middle class life, poor life, and slowly she turns to sexual affairs, first with Rudolph Boulanger, then with Leon Dupuis. At first, when the blind beggar is singing, first time when he is singing of flowers and good things. That represents innocence. We don't hear the full song. He just goes away. But at the end, Madame Bovary is dying and she consumes arsenic and dies. At that time, the blind beggar is singing outside, and at that time, his song is very sexual. The rest of the song, the last part of the song that started with flowers and good things, beauty, innocence, is ending in a very sexual manner. So, this song that the blind beggar is singing shows the change from beauty and innocence to moral deprivation. Did you understand? This song that the blind beggar is singing denotes Madame Bovary's change from beauty and innocence to moral deprivation. She dies at the end like that. All because of the society's lack of opportunities for women. She was ambitious, she wanted to be rich, she wanted to be living a high life, but for a woman, all this is impossible. Are you hearing me, guys? Are you able to understand? So this is realism. Realism shows life and its motivations. What Badri asked me about naturalism is coming. I will explain, okay? First, let me explain realism. In an essay on John Ruskin, which of the following writers defined realism thus? The doctrine that all truth and beauty are to be attained by a humble and faithful study of nature. Listen, everybody, somebody wrote an essay on John Ruskin. In that essay, the author defined realism like this. What is the definition of realism? Realism is the doctrine that all truth and beauty are to be attained by a humble and faithful study of nature. Bolo. Who do you think is the author? Which author must have written this? I will give you a clue. This author wrote for periodicals. Why did she write? Why did this author write for periodicals? Because this author was an assistant editor of a periodical. As assistant editor of this periodical, this author wrote articles. Silly novels by lady novelists. An essay on John Ruskin, etc. is written by this author. So it is all of you are wrong. It is George Eliot. George Eliot it is. George Eliot wrote essays. She was almost a critic. She wrote essays. George Eliot famously defined realism as the doctrine that all truth and beauty are to be attained by a humble and faithful study of nature. Did you understand, guys? George Eliot wrote essays, silly novels by lady novelists, remember? Yes. Now, next question. Which novel by George Eliot has a chapter 17 entitled, in which the story pauses a little, where she outlines and justifies her narrative technique of realism? There is a chapter 17. I know, Shabana. I said she. There is a chapter 17 in a novel. And that chapter says, in which the story pauses a little. There, George Eliot outlines and justifies her narrative technique of realism. Which is the novel? Can you tell me? In which novel do you have a chapter called in which the story pauses a little? It is Adam Bede. It is Adam Bede, her early rustic novel, Adam Bede. Adam falls in love with Dinah Morris, but Dinah Morris is in love with Arthur Donithorne. Henna? And she gets pregnant. The baby dies. She is arrested. Will you remember? It is Adam Bede, in which the story pauses a little. What is the setting of Adam Bede, guys? Hayslop. The setting of Adam Bede is Hayslop. Okay. Ta-da-dang. Which of the following can be regarded as the principles of realism advocated by George Eliot? Which of the following can be regarded as the principles of realism advocated by George Eliot? Bolo. Is realism about artistic pursuit of truth? Is there authentic representation of complex experience? Is there moral basis? Is there scientific accuracy? Bolo. Which of these is a principle of realism? You can write in the plural. There can be more than one answer. More than one answer can be there. Definitely artistic pursuit of truth is there. Any other? Definitely authentic representation of complex experience is there. Any other? Definitely moral basis is there. Any other? Astika, all of the above. तो नहीं है. Scientific accuracy, Badri, are you there? Is the feature of naturalism. Scientific look at life is naturalism. What is naturalism, guys? Naturalism aims to study character in a scientific manner and represents character as the product of environment. I am like this because of my environment. For example, in Emma, elements of naturalism are there. Even though it is realism, some elements of naturalism are there. In Tests of the D'Urbervilles, even though it is realism, some elements of naturalism are there. If the product is behaving in certain ways because of the situations or environment, then that book is called naturalism. That technique is called naturalism. Did you understand? A scientific representation of character and understanding character in terms of situations or environment. Tess is becoming an adulteress. Tess is becoming a murderess because of circumstances. Did you understand? Madame Bovary is realism, but situations are leading people to be what they are. No, Cherry Orchard is not naturalism. In Russia, there was another naturalism. It was like realism. This is naturalism of America and England. Did you understand? And also France. In France, Emile Zola started naturalism. Did you understand? Women characters become outcasts or criminals. Jane Eyre is definitely not naturalism. Jane Eyre she is a very resilient woman. She is a very strong woman. She is able to overcome her circumstances. Even though circumstances are bad, she doesn't. If suppose Jane Eyre is written like, she was so poor, because she was poor, she did wrong and married Rochester, even though Rochester was married, then she became a fallen woman, then that is naturalism. Did you understand? Theodore Dreiser is a naturalist. Jack London is a naturalist. Frank Norris is a naturalist. Stephen Crane is a naturalist. People become outcasts or criminals because it is not because of their mistake. It is because situations are oppressing them. It is not their mistake. Situations are oppressing them. Did you understand? That is naturalism. Will you remember? It is not always negative. In Jack London's Call of the Wild, a dog is becoming a wolf because of naturalism, because of circumstances. It is not always negative. Is that clear? Again, we will come to naturalism, then you will understand. All right? Naturalism slide is there. Read this now. Men that have to live in submission have no right to transgress the law because they are ordinary. Which of the following novels is centered on this philosophic principle? Men that have to live in submission have no right to transgress the law. Sonali, it doesn't have to be moral degradation. It can be empowerment also. That is what I said just now. It need not be moral degradation. You can be empowered because of your circumstances also. Men that have to live in submission have no right to transgress the law because they are ordinary. Tell me, which novel is based on this philosophic principle? Is it Brothers Karamazov, Crime and Punishment, War and Peace, The Death of Ivan Ilyich? Bolo. Definitely, it is Crime and Punishment. Crime and Punishment revolves around two polarities, extraordinary men and ordinary men. Raskolnikov believes that he is extraordinary, and he believes that extraordinary men can do anything they want because the result will be good. This leads Raskolnikov to commit murder. Raskolnikov believes that extraordinary men, strong men, supermen can do anything they want because they can never be wrong. Did you understand? Inspired by Arthur Miller? No way, Niladri. Arthur Miller was born much later. Watch out. So, men that have to live in submission have no right to transgress the law because they are ordinary. Men who do not live in submission are extraordinary. Men who do not live in submission are extraordinary. They can do anything. They can break the law. That is what Raskolnikov is trying to prove, but he was painfully wrong. Raskolnikov understands that he is not a Superman after all. Raskolnikov understands that his own soul is torturing him and punishing him. His punishment comes not only from the government, his greatest punishment comes from his own soul. Did you understand? That is Crime and Punishment. With which of the following myths does Balzac's Saracen directly refer to? After you answer, I will tell you the story, okay? Would you like to listen to the story? Which is the answer? Which of these myths does Balzac's Saracen directly refer to? No, Deepsa Mohanty. War and peace will never have. Leo Tolstoy was against that idea. Leo Tolstoy would never say that. He will never say that any man can transgress the law. No. With which of these myths does Balzac's Saracen directly have a connection? No, it is Adonis. I will explain. Balzac's Saracen is about an unnamed narrator who is attending a party. An unnamed narrator is attending a party. At the party, there is a beautiful painting displayed. It is a painting of the handsome young man Adonis, who was loved by the Greek goddess Aphrodite, I think. So, this painting has a wonderful picture of a man, and that man looks almost like a woman. The model for that man in the painting was Zambinella. There is in this party an old man, and this old man is actually a cross-dresser. Our unnamed narrator is telling the story of Zambinella, or this old man, to his friend Madame de Rochefide. Our unnamed narrator is trying to seduce Madame de Rochefide, and she was like not interested in sex with our narrator anyway. And this Madame de Rochefide went and talked to this old man at the party. Everybody loved this old man. And our narrator is telling the story of this old man to Madame de Rochefide. Did you understand so far? Once upon a time, long ago, there was a sculptor, an artist called Saracen. Saracen one day fell in love with an actress and dancer. In France, there were many actresses and dancers like that, like Céline Varenne in Jane Eyre. So this actress and dancer was a very lovely woman, very beautiful woman, and Saracen desperately loved her. Then he understood that this woman is not a woman but a castrated man. And Saracen wanted to kill her. But before that, he was killed by Saracen's people. Zambinella's people. This woman is Zambinella. This beautiful woman is Zambinella. Saracen loved Zambinella. When he understood that Zambinella is not a woman but a man, castrated man, Saracen wanted to kill Zambinella. But before that, Saracen, the sculptor, the artist, is killed by Zambinella's men. And that Zambinella is the model for this painting of Adonis. Adonis is a perfect, handsome man. The myth of Adonis shows that gender is ambivalent. The story of Zambinella or Saracen shows that gender is ambivalent. There is a comment somebody makes that this Adonis is not a man but a woman, because in the painting Adonis looks like a woman, so beautiful like a woman, not a man. Now Pygmalion is alluded to in the story. Pygmalion's allusion is there but not directly. Why? Because Pygmalion fell in love with his own construction. Our Saracen is a narcissist. Narcissism is also alluded to in this story. Saracen is a narcissist and he fell in love with Zambinella like Pygmalion fell in love with Galatea. Did you understand? So that is there, but it is not a direct allusion. Adonis' story is a direct allusion. Of course, it matches Picture of Dorian Gray, because Balzac, Saracen and Adonis are all, Picture of Dorian Gray are all works of decadence. These are common themes in France and England at this time. Decadence and homosexuality, narcissism. There are many works, self-love, many works that talked about all these things. And as you were pointing out, Roland Barthes analyzed Saracen in S bar Z along 5 codes. He reduced the story into 5 narrative codes and analyzed the story in that basis. In every story, there will be various elements. For example, there will be a hermeneutic code. Hermeneutic code by which the suspense, the mystery of the story is built up. The enigma of the story is built up. That is the hermeneutic code. Then he talked about a proaeretic code. Proaeretic code is what incident comes after what. Then the arrangement of the action. The narrative drive of the text. How the story is moving forward. For example, you can start the story from Saracen. You can start the story from an unnamed narrator. You can start the story from Zambinella. You know, every one of these will be a different story, different effects. Semic code means the connoted meanings of the text. The text is only whatever story I told you is the text. But it has connotations of homosexuality, psychology, philosophy of beauty, culture. So many connotations are there. That is semic code. In the text, there will be symbols used. That refers to symbolic code. And finally, you will understand the story only because of your own cultural understanding. You will understand the story only because already you know from culture various things. You know about heterosexuality, homosexuality, art, and things like that, mythology. All this is the cultural code. So there are 5 codes: hermeneutic code, proaeretic code, semic code, symbolic code, and cultural code. And he analyzed the story along these lines, dividing the story into different small units and studying the story on the basis of these structures. So this is structuralism. And he also is moving on to post-structuralism in this phase. You are asking me what is hermeneutics of suspicion, Astika. That is nothing to do with this. Paul Ricoeur, R-I-C-O-E-U-R. Paul Ricoeur said that literary theory and deconstruction is hermeneutics of suspicion. That means you are looking at a text with suspicion. You are looking at the underlying meanings of the text. You are laying bare the text, deconstructing the text. That is called hermeneutics of suspicion. Term used by Paul Ricoeur. Okay? So, I hope you understood. Balzac's Saracen is a very important story. And the painting of Adonis is displayed at Monsieur Lecanti's party, where all this is happening. Now, which of the following is an important aspect of Henry James's realism? Objectivity, faithful reflection of moral, social mores, point of view, merging the personal with the social. Objectivity, faithful reflection of social mores. Think again. Point of view, merging the personal with the social. Only one answer. Multiple nahi, one answer. So, bolo. It is Henry James. It is very, very important that Henry James talked about point of view, center of consciousness. Henry James talked about the character as center of consciousness, which was the progenitor of stream of consciousness. He talked about center of consciousness. Objectivity, no. He said that reality is very complex and deep, and every artist can, every writer, every novelist can write about reality in his own way. He should have the freedom to write. Novelist should have the freedom to write in whatever way he wants. Objectivity is not there. Remember, Henry James is a realist and modernist, early modernist. Early modernists will never talk about objectivity. They talk about subjective representation of reality. Stream of consciousness, center of consciousness are all subjective representations of reality. Objectivity is completely wrong. Clear? Now, social more means what? Social conventions. Faithful reflection of social convention is absolutely wrong. A literary text should not reflect social convention or anything. Convention is bad. Usually, these writers rejected convention, na? They went against convention, na? Faithful reflection of social conventions is wrong. Social convention need not be reflected. Point of view is a very important thing in Henry James's novels as well as criticism. Henry James experimented with point of view. He used center of consciousness, and another technique he used is unreliable narrator. He employed center of consciousness and unreliable narrator. Remember, it was Henry James's brother William James who coined the term stream of consciousness, isn't it? It was William James who coined the term stream of consciousness. And Henry James did not employ stream of consciousness as such. He employed the character as the center of the narrative. Lambert Strether in Ambassadors is very famous. He is center of consciousness and unreliable narrator. Everything in the story is filtered through the mind of Lambert Strether only. We don't know any other perspective. That is called center of consciousness. Did you understand? And merging the personal with the social. I made it up. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Personal is the focus in Henry James. Social है. I can't say this is wrong, but if you choose only one, then definitely it should be this. Point of view is very important in Henry James. Henry James also upheld the importance of the artist's freedom, novelist's freedom. Novelist should have freedom. He should represent the complexities of reality. Did you understand, guys? Clear? Okay, so point of view is a very important aspect of Henry James. Henry James was a stalwart of literature, very important writer, as a critic as well as a novelist. Okay, then Unacademy wants you to remember our MCQ course on non-British literatures has tremendous information. You can join and make use of it. There is also complete course. Complete course. Yes, Wayne C. Booth coined the terms unreliable narrator and implied author. Two terms coined by Wayne C. Booth. Unreliable narrator and implied author. Then naturalism next. While realism, listen very, very carefully. While realism was a technique of writing, naturalism was a philosophical position. Realism was a technique of writing. Naturalism was a philosophy. Naturalism is not a technique of writing primarily. Naturalists identified humans like animals. Human animals they are. Studying their character in relation to their surroundings. The nature of the animals studied in relation to their surroundings. Like that, human beings are studied in relation to their surroundings. Their surroundings or environment make them what they are. Proponents in this movement believe in heredity and environment, and they believe that heredity and environment control people. It is actually a scientific principle based on Darwin, etc. It is very scientific. Realism is not science, but naturalism is based on science. Are you able to follow? Now, Émile Zola in France, who wrote Nana, La Thérèse Rocroi, is a series of novels, 20 novels that Émile Zola wrote, which includes Nana. Then Stephen Crane, who wrote The Red Badge of Courage. Gade Maupassant, who wrote Diamond Necklace. Theodore Dreiser, who wrote An American Tragedy. What is the story of An American Tragedy? Clyde Griffiths is a poor man. He wants to be rich. His uncle is rich and he wants to be like his uncle. He wants to enter the social circles of his uncle. But his uncle makes him a laborer in his factory. Clyde Griffiths is frustrated. Against the laws of the factory, he falls in love with a poor woman, poor girl, and that girl gets pregnant. At that time, Clyde Griffiths meets a rich girl and wants to An American Tragedy, and he wants to marry the rich girl. And then you know what he does? He kills his first girlfriend who is pregnant. He kills his first girlfriend who is pregnant because he wants to get her out of the way so that he can marry the rich girl. He takes her on a boating trip and stages a boat tragedy or a boat accident and kills her. He is brought to court, tried and put under electric chair. He is sentenced to death. He is killed by electric chair. Now the importance of this story or novel is that Clyde Griffiths is not individually only to blame. It is an American tragedy. It is a tragedy of the society. An American tragedy. Did you understand? It is a tragedy of the American society because the American society is leading many people like Clyde Griffiths to become criminals. The French society led Madame Bovary to be an adulteress. Did you understand? Whereas Anna Karenina is not naturalistic. Madame Bovary is naturalistic. It is the society and its peculiarities that leads Madame Bovary to be an adulteress. But Anna Karenina was a strong woman. She knew what she wanted and she did it. It is not naturalism. I hope you understand. So that is Theodore Dreiser. Silambu by reading. By reading and studying. Which of the following do the naturalists assert? Naturalists assert what? Power of heredity and environment, the power of human will, the weakness of humanity, all of these. I have deliberately made the options tricky so that I will be able to explain to you various things. When I explain the answer, I will tell you a lot of things. That is why I made the options tricky. Scarlet Letter has naturalistic elements. Yes. Scarlet Letter has naturalistic elements, but it is not a major text of naturalism. It has some naturalistic elements. Guys, wherever you see all of these, don't choose it. Just because I put all of these there, that doesn't mean that is the answer. Shall I explain, guys? Sorry. Shall I explain? Answer is the power of heredity and environment. Naturalists do not talk about the power of human will. Instead, human will is defeated by the circumstances. Human will is always defeated by the circumstances. In fact, naturalists also did not talk about weakness of humanity. Humanity is not weak. It is just that they are shaped by. Humanity is not weak. They are shaped by circumstances. That is all. I will explain. Humanity is not weak. They are only shaped by circumstances. Now, that humanity is weak, that some of humanity is weak, and only the fittest will survive, was the theory of social Darwinism. Social Darwinism at this time believed that some of humanity is weak, some are powerful, only the powerful will survive. The naturalists were against social Darwinism. Did you understand, guys? Wait. Can you see? The weakness of humanity is not a theme in naturalism. Naturalism does not say that humanity is weak. Rather, naturalism says that humanity is shaped by their circumstances. Did you understand? Environment and heredity have power over the individual. Humanity is shaped by the circumstances. That they said. Social Darwinism at the time of naturalism, social Darwinism was there. Social Darwinism said that some people in humanity are weak, some are powerful, only the fittest will survive. The naturalists did not believe this. The naturalists did not believe that some are weak and some are powerful. The naturalists believe that if people fail, it is because of circumstances. It is not because they are weak. It is not because they are anyways inferior. Clyde Griffiths is not an inferior man, but because of circumstances he is becoming a criminal. Did you understand? Clear? चुप क्यों हो? You didn't understand or no? Did you? कुछ बोलो ना, सब लोग चुप है और you. Astika, something I touched my hand and something happened. I don't know how to do it. I timed you out or something. Sorry. Something happened, Astika. I am unable to bring you back. My hand touched the phone and it is saying Astika was timed out by Dr. Kalyani Vallath for 300 seconds. I didn't do it deliberately. Sorry, Astika. Are you there? Can you hear me? Yo. My phone was going to fall and I just touched it. Yeah, hunger. That is true. Hunger drives people to do certain things. Ambition drives people to do certain things. Social inferiority and injustice drives people to do certain things. Now, did you understand naturalism, Badri? Astika, forgive me. My hand touched the phone and something happened. I am unable to bring you back. Astika, don't go. I am moving this side, that side. You are not coming back. Anyway. Shall we move on, guys? Did you like it? Which of the following is not a naturalist novel? Abhi bolo. It is easy actually. Which of the following is not a naturalist novel? Easy actually. One of these is there that you should know is definitely not naturalist. You should know one of these is definitely not naturalist. Others you need not know. House of the Seven Gables. The House of the Seven Gables is definitely not naturalist. It is a story of a curse. It is romantic. House of the Seven Gables is definitely, yes, it is romantic. It is a curse and people brought under curse. So, Awakening by Kate Chopin, Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, Open Boat by Stephen Crane all have elements of naturalism. In Awakening, Edna, the protagonist, is becoming what she is, and her life is changing because of circumstances. In Grapes of Wrath, the family that is going, at first they are suffering, the Jode family. And finally, they are adjusting, they are changing. Open Boat is typical naturalist novel. Did you understand, everyone? Good. Now, Decadence. Decadence is a mid-19th century movement referring to moral decay that characterized Hellenism. Remember Hellenism in the time after classical period in Greece. After classical period in Greece, there was Hellenism. Hellenism refers to a period of moral decay, and same moral decay is there in Decadence, late 19th century. At this time, there is moral degeneracy, political degeneracy, social degeneracy. It is a response to the perceived decadence within earlier romantic, naturalist, realist movements. If you understand the novel deeply, you will easily understand Arpita. If you don't understand the novel deeply, you won't understand. That is how it is. Decadence was a response to the perceived decadence within earlier movements like Romanticism, Naturalism. Movement of decadence is an extreme movement. Shows a lot of characters who debase themselves for pleasure. In decadence, you see characters debasing themselves for pleasure. They used metaphors, symbolism, language as tools to distort the truth rather than expose it. Language as a tool to distort the truth rather than expose it. Major figures are Karl Huysmans, Gustave Flaubert, Charles Baudelaire, Oscar Wilde. Shall I ask you questions? Jean Duval, who represents the dangerous beauty, sexuality and mystery of a Creole woman in mid-19th century France, has been the subject of some literary works. Whose mistress was she? Jean Duval. Jean Duval represents the dangerous beauty, sexuality, and mystery of a Creole woman. Whose mistress was she? Picture of Dorian Gray, definitely decadence. Definitely decadence. She was the... Astika, you are back. Thank God, Astika, I am so sorry. She was the mistress of Baudelaire. She was the mistress. नहीं, Flaubert का कोई mistress नहीं था. She was the mistress of Baudelaire. Baudelaire called her Black Venus. Jean Duval was Black Venus. Angela Carter wrote a series of short stories called Black Venus and Other Stories. Baudelaire, Black Venus and Other Stories. Haven't you heard? By Angela Carter. Some other people also have written. Then, next. Which of the following is not a symbolic feature of the play, the importance of being earnest? Which of the following is not a symbolic feature of the play? The importance of being earnest. Is fiction writing a symbol there? Gluttony is a symbol there. Marriage is a symbol there. Dandyism, is it a symbol? Fiction writing definitely is a symbol. I will look at it one by one. Fiction writing definitely is a symbol. There is Miss Prism, who has written a 3-volume novel. Miss Prism's 3-volume novel. Then, what is her name? Gwendolyn and Cecily's diary. They are all fiction. Fiction writing is definitely a symbol there. It is a symbol of fiction writing is a symbol of the hypocrisies and the imaginative life that people led at that time, and the inequalities in life. Women were not supposed to write, men could write. Okay? Gluttony is definitely a symbol. Cucumber, our Algernon is continuously eating cucumber sandwiches. Jack eats, Algernon eats cucumber sandwiches. Jack eats bread and butter, I think. Bread and butter or something. And this is symbol of self-indulgence, etc. Marriage is definitely a symbol. Marriage, the hypocrisy is behind it. Definitely a symbol. Dandyism, Algernon and Jack are dandies. That is also a symbol. All of the above is the answer. I tricked you. It is all of the above. All of the above are symbols. All of the above are symbols. Women cook kahan? No woman cooks there. It is the butler who cooks. Did you understand? ठीक है. I tricked you, na? You didn't know. Which of the following is not a feature of decadence? Bolo. Art is divorced from life. Self-indulgence and rebellion. Love for pleasure and money. Moral earnestness. Bolo. Dandyism means excessive artificial. In the end of the 19th century decadence period, men were dandies. Like in the 18th century, they were libertines. Excessive artificial culture, that is dandyism. क्या है Shamina? Polo. Which of the following is not a feature of decadence? Sunidhi, I just told you, dandyism is excessive artificial culture. That is a characteristic of decadence. Correct. Moral earnestness. Art is divorced from life. मतलब क्या है? Art for art's sake. Correct. Art for art's sake is correct. Self-indulgence and rebellion is there in decadence. Love for pleasure and money is there in decadence. Moral earnestness नहीं है, बल्कि moral laxity is there. It is not moral earnestness, but moral laxity that you have in decadence. Clear, everyone? Yeah. Okay, Sunidhi. Symbolism next. Symbolism. Principally French movement of the fin de siècle. Fin de siècle means end of the century. Fin de siècle is another word, French word for end of the century. Symbolism influenced English language poets like Edgar Allan Poe and W.B. Yeats. Codified by the Symbolist Manifesto in 1886. Focused on the structure of thought rather than poetic form. Focused on the structure of thought rather than poetic form. ठीक है? Major figures: Charles Baudelaire, Stéphane Mallarmé, Arthur Rimbaud, Paul Valéry, W.B. Yeats. Which of the following is a symbol used in the second coming? Which of the following is or are symbol or symbols used in second coming? Bolo. Yes, The Flowers of Evil by Charles Baudelaire is a famous work of symbolism. Correct. Which of these is or are symbols used by W.B. Yeats in second coming? Is the color of my dress bothering you? It is so colorful, na? I didn't realize it will cause trouble to your eyes. Gyre is there, correct? Then tide is there, correct? Sphinx is there, correct? Moon is not there. Moon is not there. Gyre, tide, Sphinx, 3 are there. 3 symbols are there. Okay? In second coming, Gyre, tide and Sphinx, 3 are there. But it's too bright, even though color is nice. Now, the Symbolist Movement in literature was a seminal text by Arthur Symons that introduced French symbolism to Anglo-American writers. When was it published? Okay. Rahila, don't sleep. Symbolist Movement in literature was a seminal text by Arthur Symons that introduced French symbolism to Anglo-American writers. When was it published? Okay. Thank you, Suma. When was it published? 1989 तो है ही नहीं उसमें. 1989 नहीं हो सकता. Astika, sorry Astika. I just suspended you by mistake. It is 1899. Symbolist Movement in literature. The book was published in 1899. Which of the following was a major essay published in the French newspaper Le Figaro by the Greek-born poet and essayist Jean Maurier? Thank you, Simran. Which of the following is a major essay published in the French newspaper Le Figaro by the Greek-born poet and essayist Jean Maurier? Axel's Castle, Erribo, Romance sans Parole, Symbolist Manifesto. Axel's Castle is an account of or a study of symbolism by Edmund Wilson. ठीक है? Erribo is a symbolist novel by J.K. Huysmans. Romance sans parole, that means love without words, is by Verlaine. This is the answer. The Symbolist Manifesto was written by Jean Moret in the French newspaper Le Figaro. Remember, I told you here, this Symbolist Manifesto 1886, published in Le Figaro newspaper by Jean Moret, okay? Ta-da-dang, an academy girl wants you to know that there are 2 amazing courses. Right now you can use it, MCQ course and complete course. Okay? You can get all the videos and the PDF. It will immensely help you. Now, Edwardian period. Are you tired? Shall I go on for some time? Edwardian period, early 20th century, marked by a growing division between high and low literature, as well as growth of children's literature. The predominant style was realism, with some modernist elements. The predominant style was realism. Edwardian period. Important figures: Rudyard Kipling, H.G. Wells, John Galsworthy, Arnold Bennett. Rudyard Kipling, H.G. Wells, John Galsworthy, Arnold Bennett. So many people left the video. Pehle to 95 tha, abhi only 77. Because they are tired, they want to sleep. कोई नहीं, बाद में करेंगे ना, वॉच करेंगे, no problem. बोलो, which of the following was a जो ये क्या है? गलती हो गई. I forgot to put questions, I think. For Edwardian period, I forgot to put questions. Sorry. Now, Georgian period. Georgian period. Against modernism, employed a simple traditional style and rustic subject matter. 5 volumes of their anthology, called Georgian Poetry, were edited by Edward Marsh. Major figures: John Masefield, John Drinkwater, Walter de la Mare, Rupert Brooke. Who was the classical scholar, translator and art collector, who was also a patron of the Georgian school? I know, bahut dhand hai na, I am so sorry. A patron of the Georgian school. Duncan Grant, Edward Marsh, G.E. Moore, Robert Graves. It is indeed Edward Marsh. Edward Marsh, correct. He was a patron of the Georgian school and edited Georgian poetry anthologies. Stream of consciousness originated from psychology, term coined by William James in Principles of Psychology. In literature, they negated the centrality of the author. Instead, they shared a loosely organized pattern of thoughts of the characters. Author is not putting things right, author is not solving all the issues, answering all the questions. Characters' thoughts are just loosely presented. Originated from psychology. ठीक है? Edward Dujardin was a French writer who originated stream of consciousness in writing. When the laurels were cut. That is his book. Dorothy Richardson wrote the 13-volume novel series, The Pilgrimage. And then we have Virginia Woolf and James Joyce. Edward Dujardin was very old. It was James Joyce who said that Edward Dujardin started stream of consciousness. Dorothy Richardson was later, the contemporary of Virginia Woolf. Interior monologue is similar to stream of consciousness. Interior monologue is a speech, that is all, like soliloquy, but more psychological. Stream of consciousness is not just one speech. Entire novel can be written in stream of consciousness technique. Stream of consciousness technique includes interior monologue. Okay? Now, in which of these novels is the Prime Minister of England a character? The Prime Minister of England is a character. In which novel? The Prime Minister of England is a character in which novel? Bolo na! It is in Mrs. Dalloway. The Prime Minister of England is a character in Mrs. Dalloway's party. Prime Minister of England. Aside is a small sentence, small speech. Soliloquy is a big speech. Mrs. Dalloway has the Prime Minister of England as a character. The forward and backward movement of a swing symbolizes the extremes of relationship. In which novel is this used? The forward and backward movement of a swing symbolizes the extremes of relationship. In which novel is this used? This device used? Aside only audience knows, not other characters. Soliloquy, other characters are not even there on stage. It is in Sons and Lovers. In Sons and Lovers, in Miriam's Willy farm, there is a swing. It is in Miriam's Willy farm. Okay, Sons and Lovers. Swing is a symbol. Extremes of relationship of Paul and Miriam. In which of the following modernist texts do you have moon symbolism? In which of these modernist texts do you have moon symbolism? Two answers are there. In Glass Menagerie, there is a crescent moon. Both Tom and Amanda are looking at the crescent moon. In Sons and Lovers, there is an orange moon. The orange moon indicates the awakening of sexuality in Paul. Paul's sexuality is awakened because of seeing orange moon. Both Glass Menagerie and Sons and Lovers. Intertextual overtones of which of these writers is found in Mrs. Dalloway? Intertextual overtones of which of these writers is found in Mrs. Dalloway? Bolo? It is William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare is quoted by Mrs. Dalloway. She finds a book Cymbeline in the play. Shakespeare is evoked many times. Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. In which novel is this quote repeatedly found? Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. This is also in Mrs. Dalloway. This is a quote from Cymbeline. This is a quote from Cymbeline. All right. You want to do modernism today or tomorrow? Let's do tomorrow. What do you say? People are tired. Go to bed early. From modernism, we'll do tomorrow. What do you say? I made question. Only little more. 2 minutes more. 5 minutes, 10 minutes more. Okay, modernism will finish. Modernism is a varied movement incorporating different styles as well as reactions to growing science and technology. It involved a rebellion against traditional moral and social conventions. Modernism is rebellion. Creation of only 5 minutes more. 5 minutes more. 5 minutes, Astika. Creation of new artistic forms and idioms and reality as multiple and subjective. Ezra Pound, T.S. Eliot, H.D., James Joyce, Gertrude Stein, Fernando Pessoa, Nat Hampson. Finished na? Abhi khatam ho jayega. Who among the following wrote a guide to writing poetry, which opens with the parable of the sunfish? Who among the following wrote a guide to writing poetry? Do you know? The book is called ABC of Reading. It is Ezra Pound. Book is called ABC of Reading. It is a guide to writing poetry. It opens with the parable of sunfish. Okay? Parable of the sunfish. The Cantos of Ezra Pound has 116 sections with names mostly based on dash. Cantos of Ezra Pound has 116 sections with names mostly based on. Tomorrow also we will do Swati. Geographical references. We have the China Canto, the Italian Canto, the Pisan Canto, etc. They are reference to geography, places. Will you remember? Chinese characters are also there in cantos. Chinese characters are there. Okay? Actually finished. Boli na 5 minutes more. That's all for now. An Academy girl is giving you bye-bye. Join An Academy and take all the MCQs and everything from there. She's telling you. Take care of yourself. Don't fall ill. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.